Hello, so welcome to the another class of cloud computing. So we have been here discussing about the cloud computing virtualization. We have started that why this virtualization here is required, what are the various types of virtualization here. So now today here in this class we will discuss about accomplishing the virtualization. That means migrating to a virtualized environment. So for that, what are the things to do and consider during your virtualization? So first of all, we will study here about the things which you should do before migrating to this virtualized environment. So we are here discussing about accomplishing the virtualization. Accomplishing the virtualization. So, this virtualization, it is not that much straightforward as it seems. So that means it should be ensured that the one who wants to use this scenario of cloud computing, so they should have a smooth transition from a physical environment to a virtualized one. Because what we're trying to migrate from this physical environment to a virtualized one, so it should be a smooth transition. That means we should know what are the various tools which are required here to carry out this migration, and we should accomplish this physical to virtual conversion stage in a very efficient manner. So now for this purpose we will study here about things to do and consider before migration. That means what is going to be virtualized here. So we will study here what's first of all, so the topic here is things to do and consider before virtualization. So this is the first stage here. So the very first step here is that you should know that what's going to be virtualized. So here you should know that what is going to be virtualized. Now, if a business and organization is trying to move their environment, they're trying to migrate to a virtualized environment here. So they should know that is that business infrastructure, is this business entire infrastructure is going to be virtualized, or just some of the servers are going to be virtualized here. So this is the first thing we should know, that what is going to be virtualized, the complete system they're trying to move into the virtualized environment, or only some of the servers are required to be virtualized. So that means, is a business going to use application virtualization, or they're going to use the storage virtualization technology. So in this step, which is what is going to be virtualized, you need to figure out that is the entire business is migrating, or some of the servers are migrating into that environment. After that, what you need to consider is that what kind of application, what kind of virtualization they are using. Either they are trying to use application, or they're trying to use the storage virtualization technology. So this should be figured out. You should know what is going to be virtualized and by what amount. Now, next thing after our next step here is, which is taken into should be taken into the consideration, is preparing for downtime. Now, preparing for downtime. Now, what does the term downtime here refers to? Downtime refers to a period of time that a system fails to provide or perform its primary functions. That means if you have a certain time period, you should perform that particular function, and if in that period of time if a system fails to perform that primary function, that is referred as the downtime. So here we have to prepare for the downtime also. Now, no matter how carefully a physical to virtual migration is planned, you must always consider the least downtime. So the organization should work on this, on the downtime, and they should try to minimize it. That means they should accomplish their primary functions in certain time intervals here. Now, after preparing the downtime, the third thing which we require is the to know about the hardware requirements. Next thing which we should know here are your hardware requirements here. Now, hardware requirement means that it involves working out whether the virtual machines can run efficiently on the existing hardware or not. So according to that, we have to figure out that what is the number of physical machines you basically require. So hardware requirements, you have to figure out that what servers, what virtual machines you actually need. So for that, you have to first figure out that these virtual machines which you're going to create, will they run efficiently on the existing system or not? Because if they're not working here, you need to change that also, otherwise it will be a wasted resource. So that means you have to figure out that how many of those machines here are required. So what are the hardware requirements here? Now for example, if you have an existing server and it could only run two virtual machines, like you have here a server and it can run two virtual machines. So here what will happen here, the cost of migrating from physical to virtualized environment using this existing hardware, it will be a waste, because this ratio of 2 is to 1 is not a good ratio. So what will be the efficient solution? So here efficient solution would be to replace the existing hardware, and that hardware can use or can run 5 virtual machines over it. So that will be an cost effective system. It will not be a wasted resource. So according to that, you have to figure out the hardware requirements so that it can run the virtual machines efficiently over it. So that means like if you have a server, it can run only two. So that's not a good idea. For example, if another hardware that can run 5 virtual machines, so that will be an efficient usage of your resource. Now, after your hardware requirements, the next one which we have here is the storage requirements. So these are the various things which you should consider actually before migrating to virtual environment. You should figure out what you need to virtualize, what is the hardware required, what is the downtime for your system. Now, next we are here with your storage requirements. So you should always consider the storage requirements also. Because what happens, you have virtual machines here. We will have virtual machines. Now, these virtual machines here are encapsulated within the files. That means these virtual machines here are encapsulated with files on a physical machine's hard drive. So it means that the hard drive or the storage volume requirements here are a big factor dealing with virtualization, because you have to store a large amount of data here. So you should know that what is the storage volume here, and then what are the storage requirements. That means what number of devices you need there. Now for example, we'll discuss here with the help of an example here. Now if storage is centralized, we have one case. If the storage is here the centralized one, so that means it is a physically this storage here is physically located within a server. That means the storage is located within a server. So that means a specific storage volume would be required in such kind where you have the centralized. In centralized, we means that the storage is physically located with the server, and what you need a specific storage here. That means a specific storage volume. Now, if a single physical server is going to host 5 virtual machines, like this is your one single server, and it is here going to use the going to host these 5 virtual machines here. So each of them if is requiring like 100 GB. So that means these servers here would require, or the server here would require 500 GB for these virtual machines here, at least, because it is specified here. Now, if your storage is distributed one, in second scenario, if the storage is distributed, like with the help of your SAN, which is your storage area network, that means you have here a distributed scenario for your storage. So what will happen? Then an organization should ensure that their storage area network is large enough to accommodate all of its virtual machines. Because if it is centralized, you would be specific about it. Now it is distributed here. So the organizations, the storage area network have to ensure that it is capable of accommodating all of its virtual machines. That means the storage requirements of all of its virtual machine here. So the storage requirement here is a big factor when you're dealing with virtualization, when you're providing a virtualized environment here. Now, after storage requirements, you have some software considerations also. So that is, you have to ensure that all the softwares will continue or all the softwares will work in a virtualized environment. This is, you have to ensure that next thing which is to do is ensuring that all softwares will continue here or will continue working in the virtualized environment. So it will be a very bad, very worst condition if important programs or your software applications will no longer work after you have migrated your infrastructure to a virtualized one. For example, if it's an organization, they have migrated from their infrastructure to a virtualized one, and there one of the important applications or your softwares are not running there. So that will be a very bad condition there. So that means it will happen. Why? Because some of those applications may not be supporting that virtualized environment. So what a business organization or the one who is migrating to a virtualized environment, what should they do? They should list all the software or applications they require to migrate to the virtual environment and whether they're compatible or not here. So these things we should be figured out here before actually moving to a virtualized environment here. Now, the last one here is the naming conventions. Last one is the naming conventions. Now, organizations usually have their own naming conventions in order to identify the various servers or the desktops. They have their own naming conventions to identify their servers, their desktops, their storage, and whatever they are virtualizing there. So when we have this physical to virtual migration, so when physical to virtual migration happens, but some of the physical machines are still existing, that means some of the physical machines are still present, but they are not hosting any virtual machine here. So it is practical or it is convenient here to name every virtual machine so that that is easily identifiable, that is easily distinguishable from another one. So once this planning is done here, the next step after all this is done here, this considerations here are done, what you should do, the next step involved using a physical to virtual tool, the use of this P2V tool here. So this tool here will take care of most of the migration process. Like we have here VMware's converter tool. Like we have here VMware's converter tool, which here take care of this migration process. So we just have here started about various things which you should consider before virtualization. So that is, means how you are going to accomplish the virtualizations. What are the things which you need to figure out first? That means you have to uh, figure out that what you are going to virtualize. Are you going to virtualize your complete infrastructure or not? After that, you have to virtualize, or after that, you have to consider the hardware requirements so that it is a cost effective system. Then you have to see the downtime of your system also. After that, you have to check the storage requirements, and then the naming conventions and the software list also, which you're going to use in your virtualized environment also. So this is all here for today's class. We will continue with more virtualization concepts in cloud computing in our next classes. Thank you so much.